Hello, this is the luckiest maths teacher in the world, and today we'll look at classifying quadrilaterals. So I just want you to be able to, when given a quadrilateral, tell me what type of quadrilateral it is. So first you have to understand what a quadrilateral is. Well, quadrilateral has this word at the start, quad, which means four. So quadrilaterals, they're polygons, they are any four-sided shape. So all the four-sided shapes you know are all examples of quadrilaterals. So rectangles and squares are examples of quadrilaterals. So these are important, and I don't know if you realise this, but some psychologists actually found out that humans get all anxious and unhappy when they're in rooms that are not rectangular, called the Ames room. So there you go. Another four-sided shape that you're probably aware of is a kite. So this shape here has four sides, so it's a quadrilateral. So even though the kite looks a bit different, any shape with four sides is a quadrilateral. So we're going to go through the definitions of what makes each of these shapes, a square or a rectangle or whatever. So here are the quadrilaterals that we are going to go through, and unfortunately all you can do is just try and remember their properties. So first one, parallelogram has two pairs of parallel sides, or in other words, sides opposite each other are parallel. So these two sides down the bottom and top are parallel, and the two sides going up and down are parallel. Okay, rectangles, they have the same properties, so two pairs of parallel sides, but one additional property, and that all angles are equal, and that means that they're equal to 90 degrees. So a rectangle has two pairs of parallel sides and all angles equal to 90 degrees. A square is almost the same, except unlike a rectangle, all four sides in a square must be equal. A rhombus is sort of like a square on the side. It's sort of been slanted or tilted, so all four sides have to be equal, but not all angles have to be equal. So in a rhombus, unlike a square, you may not have all angles equal to 90 degrees, but we still have the two pairs of parallel sides, just like for a rectangle and a square and a parallelogram. Okay? Trapezoids, or as they're sometimes called trapeziums, that's what I call them, trapeziums are four-sided shape with just one pair of parallel sides. Now they may not have any sides equal to each other, or they may have two sides equal to each other, in which case it would be it's called an isosceles trapezium. So these two sides here could be equal or could not be equal. The last one we go through is a kite. So again, four-sided shape. So it's got two pairs of equal sides, but unlike parallelograms and rectangles, the sides equal to each other are next to each other. So those two sides in red are equal, and these two sides marked in blue are equal. Okay? They also have two equal angles here and here. So that's where unequal sides meet each other. That's where the equal angles are. Okay? So we're just going to practice. Unfortunately, that's the only way. We just got to practice looking at shapes and classifying to get these definitions in our head. All right, so let's go through a few of these. So I'm going to classify each of these shapes, A to D, as one of the quadrilaterals in the table. They're all quadrilaterals because they have four sides. So let's look here at the definition of a rectangle. So what this is saying is that if a four-sided shape has two pairs of parallel sides, opposite sides are equal, and there are four right angles, then it's a rectangle. Now what we say in logic is the converse of this is also true. So when I swap it around, what that means is if you have a four-sided shape, it has four right angles and opposite angles are equal, then it must be a rectangle. So this shape here in A satisfies the definition of a rectangle. So it must be a rectangle. So it has two pairs of equal sides. So this one here and this one here are equal. And these two sides here are also equal. So 2 pairs of equal sides, and it has 4 of these right angles, okay? Now, this actually means, because this side and this side are equal, that actually means that we have 2 pairs of parallel lines already. We have enough to say that this is a rectangle. It satisfies that definition. Let's look at B. So in B, we can see that there's only 1 pair of parallel lines, okay? So that is all we need. There's only one shape it can be, because parallelograms, rectangles, squares, rhombuses all have 2 pairs of parallel lines, whereas kites have no pairs of parallel lines. So what that means is that this shape here must be a trapezium, because that is the only 4-sided shape that has one and only one pair of parallel lines. This line here and this line here are not parallel. Okay, so it must be a trapezium. Now, if we look at C, it doesn't tell us that there are any equal sides, and it looks, just from looking at it, like there are no equal sides. Now, certainly none of the sides are parallel. So it actually doesn't fit any of the definitions that we have in the table. So when that happens, we call it something else. We call it an irregular quadrilateral. Okay? Now this name's a bit misleading, because technically anything that's not a square is an irregular quadrilateral. But for our purposes, if it doesn't fit in any of these definitions, just call it an irregular quadrilateral. So let's look at D. So looking at it, it looks like a kite or a diamond. Diamonds and kites are the same thing. So it could be one of those. But the 4 lines there mean it has all sides equal. Okay? So squares and rhombuses have all 4 sides equal. But squares have all angles equal. They're all equal to 90 degrees. Now, these angles here don't look to me like they're 90 degrees. In any case, we can't tell whether they are. We can't say that they are 90 degrees. So we have to classify this shape as a rhombus. Okay, so that's important that people understand that. Just because a 4-sided shape has all 4 sides equal doesn't mean it's a square. So in this case, we conclude it's a rhombus, okay? Now, let's throw a bit of logic on you. Now, I'm going to throw some logic on you. This is going to blow your mind. Did you know that all squares are rectangles, but not all rectangles are squares? So we're going to have a think about why that might be. So think about that while I get the chart up. Think about what the definition of a rectangle is and whether a square also satisfies that definition. So here's the chart that we've been using. Okay? So let's look first at the definition of a rectangle. Okay? So any side that has any shape, that has 2 pairs of equal and parallel sides and all angles equal is a rectangle. Now a square actually satisfies that definition. So look at the square that I've just put here. So it has this line here parallel to this line here. Okay, that's true for a square. This line here must also be parallel to this line here, okay? And that's because we have 2 co-interior angles here and here that add up to 180 degrees, okay? So there are 2 pairs of parallel sides. It says opposite sides are equal. Well, that's definitely true. This side here and this side here are equal. Opposite sides are equal. This side here and this side here are also equal to each other. So opposite sides are equal. And we can see clearly that there are 4 right angles. All angles are equal. Okay? This square satisfies this definition. Everything that's true about rectangles is also true about squares, right? But not all rectangles are squares. So if we look at this shape here that I've just put up, the purple rectangle, you can see that of course, it's a rectangle. It has all its angles equal to 90 degrees. You can see that it has 2 pairs of equal and parallel sides. But square has an extra definition that all sides are equal. That's this one here. But though this side and this side are equal, they're not the same as this side and this side. Because they're not equal, because not all 4 sides are equal to each other, this rectangle is not a square. So any square also satisfies the definition of a rectangle, but a rectangle doesn't necessarily follow the definition of a square, okay? So in similar logic, All squares are a type of rhombus, but not all rhombuses are types of squares. All kites are quadrilaterals, but not all quadrilaterals are kites. Similar to thinking about religion. All Catholics are Christian, but not all Christians are Catholic, because some Christians may be Anglican or Mormon or whatever. All Catholics are Christian because they believe in Jesus, which is all you need to be a Christian. It's exactly the same logic here. To give you another one, all rhombuses are types of kite, but not all kites are types of rhombuses. A rhombus is a special type of kite that has all four sides equal. Okay? So make sure you understand. It's a bit hard to get your head around, but make sure you understand this. So all squares are types of rectangles. They're just a special type of rectangle where all four sides are equal. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Have a wonderful day. This is the luckiest maths teacher in the world.